Just a Thought, a podcast for parents ready to change their mind and change their lives. This podcast is packed full of the one thing that will change your life, your parenting, and your relationships. Don't believe me? It's just a thought. I'm your host, Christina Stead, and this is episode 16, So Bored. Hi, everybody. We got a pandemic puppy. We got her a few months ago, and she is such a joy. She was born February 20th, 2020, so she's kind of lived most her whole life through the pandemic. Her name is Gunner. We call her Guns for short. And we think she's a mix of Hound and German Shepherd and maybe a little Ridgeback, because she has these cute little calic whorls on her buttocks that Ridgebacks have. I haven't seen them in any other dog, but I've seen them in the Ridgeback, so I assume she must have some of that in her. She's very playful and sweet and obedient and well-behaved usually, except when she's not because she's a puppy, but usually she's out there doing her best to protect us from all the rocks and trees and squirrels in our neighborhood, and she likes to cuddle, which is super important. She's almost like a cat, which makes her nearly perfect. Having a puppy has brought up a lot of memories for me of having small babies and toddlers, and all of the memories of thoughts I used to think a lot. One of those thoughts I want to talk about today is I'm not doing enough. I look at Gunner sometimes and think, she seems so bored. I'm not doing enough. If I was more fill in the blank with some adjective, right? More fun, more happy, more playful, more energetic, then she would be happy and content. So that's my thought as I look at her laying on my couch. I also think I should probably be better. I could probably be better. I need to play with her more, entertain her, teach her, run with her. It's funny because especially a few years ago when I was new to working on my thoughts, I thought there were bad thoughts and good thoughts. I thought I needed to be happy all the time, or at least be striving for that, or I was being emotionally immature. But I like what C.S. Lewis thinks about that. He said, "No natural feelings are high or low, holy or unholy in themselves. They are all holy when God's hand is on the rein. They all go bad when they set up on their own and make themselves into false gods." He said that in his book, The Great Divorce. I also thought it was really righteous and mature and true for me to think that I had so much I needed to work on, which wasn't a fun thought, but it felt so important, telling myself over and over that there was so much I needed to work on and improve. I thought that it kept me humble and improving. But actually, when I think that thought, I usually feel overwhelmed, and then I don't feel motivated at all. I find a more helpful thought for me is just to add the question or statement maybe to some of the thoughts I think. I have so much to work on. Maybe. If I was more fun, then she would be content. Maybe. Maybe helps me curb some of my thoughts for a moment so I can observe them and then decide if I will continue down the road of the thought or instead find a different thought that will get me where I want to go more effectively. I've used these same thoughts about me not being enough when my kids were babies and toddlers. Even when they were newborn, I would get so overwhelmed and I would retreat into a hiding place to research how to be a better mom or how to be more fun or diagnose if something was wrong with my kids. And one night I found myself in a rage and extremely angry and frustrated with my children, my husband, and myself. So I put myself in timeout. I opened up Google search on my phone, which had become my source for all answers to all problems I was dealing with all day long, every day. And I was wondering what one should be doing with their toddlers all day long. Because at that point, it seemed to me that all toddlers did was whine, destroy, create chaos and mess, eat, sleep, and poop. And I wondered what I should even be trying to do. I didn't feel like anything I did mattered. Every day seemed to end in mess and tears. So there I sat with my phone, hoping for some sort of miracle truth or knowledge to set me straight and change my life so I could feel different. I'd given up on trying to enjoy motherhood and was focusing on just trying to experience it and be a good mom. I prayed, Lord, what can I do to bring peace to my home, to my life? I was beyond exhausted, and I couldn't carry all of these burdens much longer. I was breaking. I was so angry. I was inspired to search for what to do with toddlers, Waldorf. Waldorf is a method of educating that I had heard about from a friend. And I had liked the idea of some of its concepts, so I wondered what it suggested for toddlers. And I thought, maybe if I can keep my kids busy getting educated, then I can feel a little more peaceful and feel more purposeful. Maybe then I can feel like I'm doing enough. So the first link that I clicked on was at waldorfcurriculum.com, and it was powerful. I'll read it to you. It says, infant and toddler. It says it was updated November 3rd, 2016. If your children are infant toddler age and they are awake, go spend time with them. If they're sleeping, go take a shower, have a snack, do something that refreshes and relaxes you. Get off the computer. You don't need a curriculum. Be a happy mom. Be a happy dad. Seriously. In the Steiner Waldorf philosophy, preschool children are devoted to their surroundings, living in intense absorption in all that goes on, imitating into their very organs the soul attitudes of the adults who care for them. The ether body at night is repeating and developing the previous day's thinking and feelings, which are working into the physical constitution for good or ill. That was from Sleep, an Unobserved Element in Education by Audrey E. McAllen, page 8 and page 11. In other words, your health affects your child's health, so please take very good care of yourself. So after I read that post, I felt reprimanded, but I also felt peace. And I thought, I should be taking care of myself and really spending time with my kids. Now, obviously I was still stuck in shoulds, but this post motivated me to get up and start being present. This idea is even more clear to me now, but then it was a really new thought. I was with my children all day, but there was not very much time, if any, that I was being really present with them or even with myself. I had convinced myself I was too drained, too overworked, underacknowledged. But really, because I wasn't taking breaks or resting or laughing or playing or acknowledging me, that's why I felt the way I thought. My children were acting out because of the negative connection was at least some connection. This was leading to a cycle of more anger and more disconnection between us. So that night, I got off my phone, I took some deep breaths, I prayed for strength and energy, and I spent the rest of the evening until bedtime being very present with my kids. It was beautiful. I treasure that evening, and they slept so well that night. The reason I share that story is because I have two contradictory thoughts about the topic of being enough and this specific example of boredom and the influence I, as a parent, specifically, have on my children's experiences. For me, it's super helpful to recognize that it's my thoughts about whether or not I should be doing more or that my dog or my children would be more content or more happy if I tried harder. Those are all just thoughts. My dog and my kids might feel content or bored, and it might not have a lot to do with how much I do or don't do. And on the flip side, I have also found a lot of peace and joy and connection in being present with myself, my children, my dog, and my other relationships. Which is a thought too. I like my reasons for both of these thoughts. I like that I'm not responsible for what others feel, and I like that I can influence their feelings and enjoy the benefits of intentionally connecting. I like to juggle and balance both of these beliefs. Looking back at me as a new mom, I would want to tell myself that it's okay and good and healthy for my kids to be bored, and even for me to be bored. It's good and it's okay to not like that feeling. And if I want to and choose to, it is super fun and fulfilling to play and just enjoy my kids just as they are and just as I am. Playing with them is easier than I think it will be every time. They always show me how. I just need to show up. And taking care of me is foundational to taking care of them. And lastly, I don't need a curriculum to tell me how to mom, how to school, or how to play with my kids. In each moment, I know what to do and where to start, and it's not complicated. So, what thoughts do you think when your kids say they're bored? What does it mean to you? Do you believe it's your job to manage their boredom? Do you ever resent your own boredom? Just some thoughts to think about. Here's to being intentional. This is Christina Stead, and this is Just a Thought.